And we are Real Birmingham.
Yeah,
Steve Evans has scored us.
Yeah, well, in fact, those of you who've actually clicked on the video, well, that's on the thumb. I've actually put that, League One's Real Madrid and under brackets Steve Evans, Rotherham United. So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. And I think it's fair to say that Birmingham City have made a really good start to the EFL League One season, winning 4 games and drawing 1 of the first 5. This weekend, Birmingham City travel to the New York Stadium to play Rotherham. And myself and Matt have got our tickets. We're really looking forward to going. And in this podcast, we're going to discuss the match, give our thoughts on what we think about Rotherham and what the team formations will be and all the usual stuff. So, Matt, Rotherham away, looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm excited to be back on the road again. Me and you haven't been away since Wycombe game, which feels like it was forever ago. And don't get me wrong, we had the Wrexham home game on Monday and St.Andrews was rocking. But there's something about getting the coach, having the beers in the concourse at an away game. They're always special, aren't they? And we always try to make the most of them. So I'm excited to get ourselves to Rotherham. And, we're top of the league. Sorry, we're joint top of the league. We've got a game in hand and we're only separated by goal difference. And we are going into this game off the back of that Wrexham win. So we're full of momentum. So I'm expecting a Blues team which is going to be firing on all cylinders. Rotherham haven't quite got that momentum yet. They've only won 1 out of the first 6 games, which amazingly was against Huddersfield. So it's a really big scalp to claim. And I know they got a point away at Charlton away. But they did, so I've got it here. They've lost to Wycombe, they've lost to Exeter, and they drew to Burton as well. So there's a really inconsistency there, isn't it? They're a really hard team to read and predict. I can't quite work it out, to beat Huddersfield and get a point at Charlton, but then to lose at Wycombe at Exeter, it's not quite adding up for me.
Yeah, I think I think they would probably admit that they've made a sloppy start really from what they wanted. I think they were predicted to do very well, and they probably will turn this around and have a better season. But like you said, so in their last 6 games, they've won 1, drawn 3, and lost 2. Birmingham City in 6 games have won 5 and drawn 1. Obviously, we've only played 5 this season, so that 1 win is from the last league game in the Championship included in those 6. But 5 wins and a draw puts us top of the form table.
Yeah,
and that's off the back of 4 straight wins as well in the league.
If there's any Rotherham fans watching, I'm not too sure, but not to put any more fear in. But we seem to be getting better every game that goes on, don't we? We seem to be getting that momentum every game which is going. We seem to be clicking. We've gone from gear 1, 2 to I would say about 3. I still think we've got another 2 gears to go once we really click. So we're getting there. I mean, we saw some impressive stuff against Wrexham, fast movements, breaking the channels, really breaking them down. Great goals, great delivery. So really encouraged by what I'm seeing with Blues at the moment. But in terms of Rotherham, I try and get a gauge on social media, a little bit about their fans, a little bit about their style of play. And I must admit that they're not the most optimistic fan base. I think there's, a lot of negativity around Rotherham at the moment. Their fans don't seem massively sort of geared up. They seem to be not piling on. That doesn't seem like a fair thing to say, but, they seem to be a lot of negativity on social, unfortunately, around Rotherham at the moment. But I think they feel, what I'm gathering is there's no real plan. They've brought a lot of players in this summer, but there's no real structure or plan to what they're doing. We're really organised, and I think Rotherham are going to have a tough week. And I know it's a Blues podcast. I know we're obviously going to have some sort of bias, but I think we're going to go there, and I think Rotherham are going to have a pretty tough afternoon to contain, as I do.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call them a bogey team, but we were the only team in the whole Championship not to score against them in 2 games.
Well, we did, but it got disallowed.
Well, it did, but we didn't score.
Yeah, exactly.
But we had 2 0-0 draws. And actually, that home game against Rotherham, where Rooney was in charge, was one of the worst games, and we were very lucky to get a 0-0 draw in that game.
That was one of the worst games of football I've ever seen in my life. I think that was on your tongue there, and I want to finish it off for you. It was shocking. It
was really, really bad, wasn't it? And I think that was the game that Tom Brady came to as well, so he must have been, what's going on here? Good impression there.
Hence why he hasn't been back since, apart from the Wrexham game.
Well, he was there for the Wrexham game. I think he enjoyed that one. But Rotherham, I wouldn't say they're a bogey team for us because we didn't have a great season. And obviously, you could look back at those both 2 games against Rotherham last season and think, well, if we'd have got 1 win out of 1 goal out, we wouldn't be in League One now. But we are, so we're not trying to change that. But so basically, we struggled to score against them last season. I don't think we're going to struggle this season. I think with our firepower, I think don't get me wrong. I think they are another physical team. We say that a lot, don't we, about opposition? Because I think when you get to this level,
League One,
you do need these big physical players, and they've got plenty of them, so they're not going to be a pushover, and they are at home as well, so they will have home advantage. And
we are Real Birmingham.
Yeah,
Steve Evans has scored
Evans, yeah, well, in fact, those of you who've actually clicked on the video, well, that's on the thumb. I've actually put that, League One's Real Madrid and under brackets Steve Evans, Rotherham United. Obviously it's all tongue in cheek with him, Mr. Happy, and he's not the most amenable type of character, is he? I'm sure he's all right behind closed doors, but I think he's one of those characters that just love to be hated, and it'd be interesting to see his reaction.
He's a bit of a pantomime villain, isn't he? He's a bit like the Nathan Jones. We said this in the score prediction video, Dad, that went out a bit earlier in the week. Football needs characters like that. I think they enjoy the hate to some extent. They enjoy the banter with the fans. Neil Warnock's a classic one. He said, "Don't clap me off." He said, "Sing." Neil Warnock is a. He said, "Sing that to me," and that's the perfect send off. So like those, and they did it, and Neil Warnock went. He loved it. So those kind of managers live for the banter, and they kind of like that engagement. With
it's
the
a bit of a no nonsense manager. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got nothing against Steve Evans. I quite like. I will tune in to see when he just to see what he does, because he's a proper character. But
he's hilarious. I'm not a massive fan of him generally. It's not that I'm a massive fan of his sort of whining and the passing the buck. What I don't like is sometimes it comes across really unprofessional to not shake the opposition's hands, regardless of result, regardless of what's happened. You have to have that respect for your opposition.
Well, if we beat them, he doesn't want to shake Chris Davies' hand. So what? I know what you're saying there as well. They have got some strengths. Obviously, we always look at the characteristics of the opposition as well. So they're reasonably good at attacking set pieces as well. That's because of their physical presence and their height as well. So they're good at that as well. They do create some scoring chances, but they don't score loads of goals. So and very strong at aerial duels. In fact, they're a pretty big team, aren't they? Mm-hmm. And strong at defending set pieces as well. So if we get set pieces, they'll be pretty good at that as well. But they like to put plenty of crosses in, and they do like to take lots of shots as well. So if they get in them positions, we got to expect them to take shots. So there are certain things that that we got to be wary of.
It's interesting you say getting crosses in the box, because one of the things that the Rotherham fans have been complaining about is the lack of this season is the lack of utilisation down the wings, because they play just get it here 4-3-1-2. I'm sure we're going to come on to this a little bit more specifically, but just in that, if you look at that formation, it's really narrow, so it doesn't have much scope for wing play. And a lot of Rotherham fans that have said they're becoming very one-dimensional, very predictable. Yeah. They're going down the middle quite direct, and they're kind of lumping it into the box and hoping. And the Rotherham fans are going, change the formation, give us some width and some so we can actually go down the wings. And I think this is a really big chance for Blues this weekend. If we can exploit and be dangerous down the wings this weekend, we could cause Rotherham a significant amount of problems. But that is something I picked up on from the fans on social. They were going, why aren't we playing more down the wings and getting more of a threat on the byline, But again, if you look at that formation, it's just tailored towards that narrow, direct approach, isn't it?
Yeah, and they don't score many goals. I mean, didn't score against Exeter, didn't score against Bristol Rovers, didn't score against Wickham. That's their first 3 games. Then they scored 2 against Huddersfield, 1 against Charlton, and 2. So the last 3 games they've picked up a little bit, but they're not prolific in scoring goals. Obviously, they're not strong at keeping possession of the ball either.
Also, they have a really bad keeper at the moment. His name's Phillips, and again, I'm sure Chris Davies and the players don't watch this podcast out, but if you do, please let's test this keeper from distance. He's flaky. He's made a few mistakes this season. Even the Burton equaliser was soft. It wasn't that much of a difficult shot. He should have saved it. And again, the Rotherham fans have been going, why is Phillips playing? Why is Phillips starting? So we need to test this keeper. We've shown that when we shoot from distance, we can create chances. And I think if we can, really test this keeper this weekend, we can be. And it's a shame for Rotherham, because last season they had Johansson. Was it Johansson? The guy that moved to Stoke? Victor Johansson. He was an absolutely incredible keeper. In fact,
they got $1 million for him.
In fact, he was arguably one of their better players last season. So, they've gone from him to Phillips. So I am pleased. Blues players test his keeper from distance,
Yeah, I mean, they brought in some players as well, though, Matt. I mean, obviously, remember at the start of the transfer window, all the Blues fans were starting to say, why aren't we bringing anybody in? But these are all, most of these are free transfers. Let me go through a few they brought in. Do, I think their star signing, in my opinion, is Johnson Clark-Harris, who they got from Peterborough. He's a centre forward. They got Joe Powell from Burton, a central midfielder. Cameron Dawson, a goalkeeper from Sheffield Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Joe Rafferty, a right back from Portsmouth. Liam Kelly from Coventry, defensive midfielder. Reece James, a left back from Sheffield Wednesday. Sean Reguette, a centre-back from Portsmouth, Zach Jules, centre-back from Exeter. Basically, they had a massive turnaround of players.
Yeah.
And so that could be partly why they're having this sluggish start, because they're in the same situation as us in terms of new personnel, and they're still not used to playing or gelling. Like, we keep using that term for ourselves, don't we?
Yeah.
But like you said, they have got rid of some fairly decent players. Victor Johansson,
Great keeper.
he would have been busy last year because they had a poor season last year. He went to Stoke for $1 million. Ollie Rathbone, who we saw last night for Wrexham, central midfielder. They got, according to my stats, about $500,000 for him. Peter Kioso, a right back, he went to Oxford. Nearly 820 grand they got for him. Jamie Lindsay, free transfer to Bristol Rovers, and Cafu, who is a central midfielder who played for them last season. Sounds really Brazilian.
When you say Cafu, I think of the Cafu, the right back from Brazil.
Well, I think this guy is Brazilian. Well, Portuguese, maybe this guy. I can't remember, but he went to one of the Turkish clubs. I can't remember what it was. So they've lost some, what I would classify as some
of their key players.
Some of their key players, and I don't think the players that have currently come in have got to that standard yet.
But this explains why I've been seeing what I've been seeing. And this sounds like we're piling onto Rotherham. I hope we don't mean to, but they seem a bit all over the place. So they've conceded sloppy goals, easy goals that the goalkeeper should be collecting, goals that the shouldn't be allowing these crosses into the box. Really quite avoidable goals. And they're not quite scoring goals either, so they're not quite clinical. So they look like they have a lot of issues at either end of the pitch, Rotherham, to iron out. But this is what happens when you bring a lot of players in. We're not as drastic as Rotherham, but we've seen it at Blues, haven't we, Dad? We've needed time to adapt. Thankfully, we've been picking up points on the road, and we've still looked really good, but we're still clicking. And I think Rotherham have to have that moment this season where it clicks and it gels. And I think when they do that, there's no doubt about it. They're experienced at the League One level. They're not a bad side. And I think they will be okay. But there's no doubt about it. Their recent form, 6 points out of 18. It's not a good start, is it?
It isn't. And I think Steve Evans will tell them, right, okay, this is Real Birmingham that coming here now. I don't forget what's happened so far this season. I just want you to be strong and physical and just stand your ground.
Be competitive.
Yes. So basically, he'll almost, I wouldn't say scrub what we've done so far. It will be, okay, here's an opportunity now. Let's really go at them. Because that's what I think. I think that's what I would do if I was Steve Evans. Because what have they got to lose? Like we said with when we did the Wrexham post-match video, that all teams come to us and they have a go at us because they've got nothing to lose, have they? I think he'll do that with these. So I think they'll have a proper go at us. I don't think this is going to be an easy game at all. I mean, for all the things that you've said about their lack of form and proneness to make mistakes, they're going to be a decent League One team, and we have to overcome these type of obstacles because there is some decent players in there. So if you look back at they didn't score many goals. They had a horrid season last season. They didn't score many goals at all. But their high scorers were Jordan Hugill, 5 goals. Odafin got 4 goals, and Undoubtably got 3 goals. And I think some of them players are still in this team as well. So their record is it might not be great at the moment, but we can't underestimate any team. We can't.
Of course we can't.
That would be complacent, and that would be a massive mistake because they're the type of games you'll lose.
They beat Huddersfield.
Yeah.
They got a point at Charlton. These are no pushovers.
Yeah.
All I'm making a point is by saying these things is that they're a team that hasn't quite got it 100% together yet, but they will at some point. It could be against us, and we could have an absolutely a right game on our hands. Who knows when that moment's going to click for Rotherham? I'm not sure, but from what I've been seeing, where we are and where they are, I think we will be the stronger team. And again, as always with Blues this season, we're going to have a lot of the ball. And to be fair, we'll come on to Blues in the next 30 seconds to a minute. But same as you did, I looked at the Rotherham team, looked at a few of their key players and some of their highest rated players. And the 4 players who have the highest rating so far this season, number 1 is Jamie McCart. He's their centre half. Good player he is.
Yeah.
Hakeem Odafin, again, another centre half. So they have very physical defenders. And then Wilkes.
Malik Wilkes.
Malik Wilkes. There you go. He's the attacking mid. I think he plays all across on his day. And Clark Harris, who you've already mentioned. So they have got some good players.
Yeah, I think every team we come against is going to have good players, or some good players in their team as well. But they haven't lost. So in the last 6 games, they've only lost 1 game. So obviously they've only won. They've only lost 2 games. They've won 1. So basically, in the last 6 games, they don't lose many games. So the last 3 games have been 1 draw. So this ain't going to be. And I think that, as I say, with a manager like Steve Evans, he's going to have them right on it right from the very beginning.
Also, there's a pattern here: beating Huddersfield, point away at Charlton. are there a team that do better against the bigger teams in the division?
Yeah, good point.
So they are going to be on their A game. And you picked up on a really good point there, Dad. Every team is going to see Blues as a free pass this season in the context of they're going to almost forget about the previous game and the next game, and they're just going to. The message from the manager is going to be go out there and battle and work your socks off. And we're going to come up against teams who on any other week might have gave an underwhelming performance, but because it's Blues, they're going to give the all.
Yeah, and we've seen that in every game. We've seen that in every game. We obviously the last game we played against a few days ago was Wrexham. For the first 15 minutes, they literally came right at us because all teams are doing that. They're having a go. But of course, then with our quality, we tend to sort of wear them down, and we obviously with the better quality, we are winning games. Yeah. Rotherham are going to be no different. They're because Steve Evans will say, "Look, we're at home. This is our ground. Let's have a go at them as well." Just on the back of, I don't think we can discount the fact that they came down with us and Huddersfield, and you mentioned at the beginning about the fact that they're not playing very well at the moment. I think they're a team that's had that bit of a shock we talk about. So they've come into a lower league, and this is maybe where their fans are not happy because they're expecting more from them, but they've got this shock, So if you look at their last 20 games in the Championship last season, they won 2, including their last game, drew 3 and lost 15. And lost 4 of the last 6. So they came down. We didn't come down like that. We came down on
a high to some extent in terms of with a win and with owners that we knew were going to back us financially.
Yeah, so, and with the games under Gary Rowett, we only we didn't lose many games under Gary Rowett, so we didn't come down with a heavy losing streak like they did.
No, exactly.
So I think that's partly why they're in this position at the moment. They've came down after a really, really bad season. They've had a massive turnaround, and they've had this real. I'd say this league shock in terms of in a new division. That's why their fans are not happy.
They're probably doubly frustrated on the top of that, Daddies, because Rotherham are so used to doing the yo-yo. They're like, we call Norwich and who's a classic Premier League Championship? Burnley,
West Brom.
Those classic Premier League Championship. Rotherham is the classic Championship to League One. They yo-yo a lot. They've yo-yoed a lot in the last 8 years. So the fact they've came down and they're a little bit more unsettled than previous relegations is probably knocking the fan base's confidence a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, because usually they're just right up there, aren't they, from the beginning?
They know what to do.
Yeah,
because they're so accustomed to the league.
Yeah, and they're right down in the table. I think that, like you mentioned, I think
17th.
they're 17th or 18th. They are in the league table. I've got the league
they're
table.
17th.
Let's have a look. So in terms of the teams around them as well.
I'll bet you the first point of the game.
What? They're 17th.
Yeah.
Yep. So Rotherham are 17th.
There we go. I'll have that first point, please, Dad.
yeah. But I mean, obviously, around them, they've got teams like Northampton, Exeter, Wigan. They'd want to be higher than that, wouldn't they?
I think they will be. I really do. I mean, I think they're just adjusting. We see it all the time with teams that come down. They are going to want to start turning the corner a little bit soon. But yeah, I think Rotherham are in no danger. They'll be fine. They just need to get that momentum, I think, moving forward. But should we go on to the Blues, Dad? And to be fair, I think the Blues section's really easy. More of the same, please.
Let's just quickly go through what we think the starting lineup will be. We'll do this very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. Only on the basis of time. So in goal,
I think for consistency, he'll stick with Bailey Peacock Farrell. I'd like to see Allsop, but I think he'll stick with Bailey Peacock Farrell.
Yeah, me too as well. Right back.
Probably Hickman.
Yeah, because he started him against Wrexham. Yeah. I was surprised that Sam said wasn't there, but he did start Gardner Hickman. He didn't do anything wrong, so he should keep his place. Yep. Okay, centre halves.
Bielek suspended, so it'll be Clara and Davies.
Yes,
Ben Davies.
Yeah, I think that will be the two choices.
Yeah. I must admit, it would be Sanderson, but he's still injured, so I think Ben Davies is going to get the call up, isn't he?
Yeah, and gives him an opportunity. Left back Cochrane. It's got to be, hasn't it, as well? Let's go central midfield.
Iwata and Paik.
I'm shocked that I'm not recommended Leonard.
Same.
But after the performance from Iwata against Wrexham, it's got to be him. So Iwata and Paik, what a great combination.
Yeah.
Left wing.
Hansen.
Yeah. Right wing.
Williamson.
That's who he started, wasn't it, as well?
So, and again, I like Keshi Anderson. I'm a big fan of Keshi Anderson. But I think because it's Rotherham and they're big and they're physical, and Williamson had a good game against Wrexham. I'm not saying Williamson did anything wrong, by the way. I do prefer Williamson in the 10, but it's clear that Chris Davis is going for the May in the 10 and then Stansfield in the 9, which is fine. It worked. It did brilliantly against Wrexham. So for the interest of the Rotherham game, I'm going to go Williamson on the right.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well. And then number 10.
I wouldn't usually pick this. I'm surprised I'm picking this, but off the back of the Wrexham game, Chris Davis' decision, Alfie May.
Alfie May, and then Stansfield will be the spearhead, as we call it. Okay.
Absolutely.
The only I agree with that in terms of what we have just discussed in terms of the team selection. The only thing that might change that is if he decides to rotate, because we've got a lot of games coming up. So he might, and we don't know whether he's picked up any niggly injuries. Obviously, Bielek's it's a given; he's not there, so we've got to put somebody else in that place. Yeah. But the others, I mean, does he now persist with a settled starting lineup, or does he think, well, actually, we've got games coming up very quickly against Peterborough, Huddersfield, Charlton, and
I think it's understated how important it is to have a settled starting 11. And fair enough, you might fluctuate the odd position from time to time, but to have a settled 11 that you know is going to start is really important. It allows the team to gel that a little bit quicker, have that click. And if Chris Davis is happy with Alfie May in the 10, I certainly am from what I saw at the Wrexham game. Why change a winning team? Yeah. I think this should arguably be our starting 11 moving forward.
Yeah, it'd be good to see what Blues fans think about the starting lineup. There's lots of conundrums in there in terms of what Chris Davis could potentially do, but that's what we think. So let us know in the comments below what you think the starting lineup will be.
Yeah,
but nothing else for me, Matt. I'm looking forward to the Rotherham game. I'm, looking forward to watching the Blues again on the road, and hopefully we can come away with 3 more points and just get ourselves top of the league.
Yeah. Up the Blues. I'm looking forward to that point, Dad.
Don't worry, you'll definitely get it as well. So, what do you think, Birmingham City supporters? We'd love to know, or Rotherham supporters, if you're watching, you stumbled across this podcast, and let us know what your thoughts are in your team and what you generally think about the match and how you think you'll do. Add a comment below. Blues fans, of course, we always love to hear your comments as well. So, pop something below and let us know what your thoughts are. If you did like this podcast, then don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't checked us out on our social media channels already, just pop along to our X page and our Instagram page, and also you'll be able to listen and watch this podcast on Spotify now, and you'll see the handles appearing on the screen right now for all of those social media outlets. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future content all about Birmingham City. And myself and Matt will see you on the next video.